Welcome to the ethics of stress management and self-care in the modern counseling world, medicationless approaches, brought to you by Counseling World, LLC. Welcome. I'm Roger Aguiar.
And I'm Kirsten Shubar.
And this is Counseling World's presentation of the ethics of stress management.
And self-care.
And what better place to do it than right here in beautiful Maui. This workshop is not intended to give medical or legal advice. If you have medical or legal concerns about stress management, breathing, movement, and/or any practice presented in this workshop, please contact a physician or an attorney. Please contact your state board for CEU certification requirements. Welcome to Counseling World's presentation of the ethics of stress management and self-care in the modern counseling world, medicationless approaches. I'm Roger Aguiar, and this is Kirsten Chobar.
Now, before we get started, we want all of you to take a moment to figure out what your own stress level is.
Pause the DVD for 5 minutes. Evaluate your stress level. Use whatever technique you are comfortable or familiar with.
Okay. Let's get started. So Roger, why are we bothering to do this particular presentation? What does stress management have to do with us and self-care personally? We're professionals. We've been in the field for a long time. Why is it something that we need to focus on now?
Well, because as a healing professional, you are the instrument. And if your instrument is damaged or not tuned properly, then that translates into client care. And we have to make sure that as helping professionals, that we're in tip-top shape as the instrument so that we can ensure that we're giving the clients the best possible care that we can.
Well, you're suggesting that we're not, that some of us out there may not be practicing as the best calibrated person that we can be. So how do we know if we're one of those people where stress is affecting us?
Well, stress affects us all. And there's no way to escape it. And so it's best that you have a stress management routine or a strategy built into your daily practice to ensure that you are mitigating some of the factors that cause stress, and also some of the mitigating factors that we suffer some of the harmful side effects, if you will, of stress.
So the presentation is called The Ethics of Self-Care, Stress Management and Self-Care. And so I want to know what the boards, what the national standards say about the ethics of self-care. What's next?
Well, we'll get to that, but it is important, and you need to understand that to practice under any condition that might be considered impairment, it's unethical. And we simply can't allow ourselves to do it. So hopefully this presentation will give people some of the knowledge and the tools and the skills that they need so that they can keep themselves finely tuned and be that instrument of healing the best that they can.
So what are some of those rules? What are the standards governing our profession? We have social workers, we have therapists, we have psychologists. There's a lot of different people in the helping professions. So what rules are governing us? Specifically, what rules care about whether we have self-care or whether we're managing our own stress or an impairment, and if we're in an impaired state?
Well, the boards are not 100% specific on all of the above, Kirsten, but they do kind of clue us in on areas that we need to pay attention to, ethical standards being one. As far as self-care and what is impairment and what's not impairment, there is some treatment of those subjects, but it's not very specific all the way around the subject matter. But we will discuss it as we go along.
And why are we doing this? That would be the big question. Why?
Well, the idea is that we want to help our peers, people in our profession, be better professionals. And that in turn will translate into better client care. And really that's what this is all about. It's about better care for the clients.
So it sounds like this is a pretty important topic, as that ethics and self-care relating to being able to take care of clients, making sure our profession is still validated, and making sure that we have clinicians who are in tuned.
Yeah, and it's really all three, and unfortunately it's not necessarily in that order, because I think at times as human beings we normally tend to put ourselves before any other priority, and so we're not necessarily thinking about clients or the profession. You know, we become number one, and that can be a problem, and that can lead to things like malpractice, and that's what we're trying to avoid.
But I disagree to some extent, because the problem with a lot of us helping professionals is we don't put ourselves first. We put our clients first. We put the profession first, and then we forget about ourselves. And I think that's a key piece, is we forget to take care of ourselves. And maybe at times we do need to put ourselves first.
No, and in those terms you're absolutely right, because ultimately, if you don't care for yourself, how can you care for other people? If you yourself are sick or tired or angry or ill, how is that going to translate into your therapeutic and your clinical approaches? You know, not very well. Clients pick up on our feelings just like we pick up on theirs. And so it's a double-edged sword. So it's important, though, and one key there is to think about, how am I serving this client? How am I doing my clinical best and my therapeutic best to give this client what they need? And if you yourself are not in a condition to do that, then that becomes impossible. And without the clients, there's no need for us as clinicians. And without us, there's no profession. So it really boils back down to the client.